the news on Central tonight. We've got the headlines in a moment, followed by Mike Scott's programme, giving the news about the news, the time, the place. That's News and Views.
You have to be brave in an audience with Victoria Wood.
No, but we've not done bad here tonight. Who have we got? Some friends of Wincy Willis and some people from Guildford. Oh, wait, sorry, I recognise you now. Thought I got a whiff of Nappy Sam coming across. Yes, Miss Julie Walters, star of Educating Rita, Typhoon 1 Cup.
Ooh, Saturday Laughter at 9:05 on Central.
These people who breed and enjoy dogs say there's dog food and there's Pedigree Chum.
Poson. Dior. Poson. Le parfum par Christion Dior.
Apparently this low-alcohol lager called Dansk LA is brewed like real lager. So they'd like me to say it tastes like real lager. But the funny thing is, it does.
When you drink low alcohol, make it a good one.
And it's my heart that's breaking down this long distance line tonight. I ain't missing you at all, missing you. Since you've been gone, missing you where I ain't missing you, missing you. No matter what my friends say, missing you.
Kenco, the coffee experts, have now put all their coffee know-how freeze-dried in a jar. Smart, eh? New Kenco in a jar. The same quality of beans that gives Kenco ground coffee its superior taste. New Kenco in a jar, the coffee experts' coffee.
One new washing machine.
May I be of assistance? I am Victor, the definitive washing machine.
And you can talk.
Hardly a major achievement. Humans can do it. Enough technology to run a small planet, and where do I end up? In a green kitchen. May I? Now, red's a good strong colour.
Wisk?
Of course, Wisk. Created to be a liquid, never a powder. It's a technical marvel, you know.
It'll need to be.
Let's see. Soup, mud, egg. Was there an earthquake?
A birthday.
Good grief. Wisk, please.
Gloopy, isn't it?
Gloopy, the softness of a liquid, but the power to penetrate every fibre. Technically speaking, it's brilliant. By the way, are you married?
Wisk. Technically speaking, it's brilliant.
Sponsored by Accurist will be 7:59 and 50 seconds.
Accurist. The standard by which all watches are set.
Saturday Sport is special on Central. With football, we bring you the highlights of a top league game. Plus snooker, the climax and final of the World Match Play. A first prize of £100,000 is on the table. Excitement on cue. Don't miss Sports Special Saturday action at 10:05 on Central.
Music later on Central, from rock to ballads, all in one programme, and from one of the great rock and roll bands, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, in concert 3:40 tonight on Central.
President Reagan has said in the last hour that America must maintain its military strength, but he hinted that he wants the Soviet Union to make more arms cuts. He said Mr. Gorbachev's plan to cut his army by 500,000 would still leave the Soviets with military superiority. In what's believed to be his last White House press conference, Mr. Reagan said he thought Mr. Gorbachev was trying to make the Soviet Union less threatening.
I do, and I think he recognizes that their massive buildup has been responsible for the great economic crisis that he faces there in the Soviet Union. And yes, he has proposed this, but even so, there still will be room for some negotiations on arms, because this still leaves them with a superiority in the amount of conventional weapons that they have.
President Gorbachev is due back in Moscow from America about now to take personal control of the rescue operation in the Armenian earthquake disaster. It's thought he'll go straight to the stricken area around Leninakan and Kirovakan, where up to 100,000 people are feared dead. In Leninakan, any building over 4 stories was reduced to rubble. A massive rescue operation is underway. Desperate townspeople have been tearing the debris away with their bare hands. 2 soldiers recovered the bodies of 50 school children buried by the earthquake. 5 Americans are presumed dead after 2 planes flying for a United States relief agency were attacked by ground-to-air missiles over North Africa. The planes came under fire over Mauritania near the Moroccan border. 1 jet was shot down, the other was hit, but later landed safely without any apparent injuries on board. No one's admitted carrying out the attack, but it happened in an area where nationalist rebels are campaigning for an independent Western Sahara. Mrs. Thatcher has told businessmen in London that they should not put profits before the environment. She said they should dispose of waste materials safely.
The future of the community demands that business does not try to prosper at the expense of the environment. That means that the chemicals and other materials we use must be disposed of in a way that safeguards the environment.
And that's it.
This is Central Television, this is the time, this is the place.
Good morning. The time is 10 o'clock. As you know, the place is Carlisle, and our subject today, Satanism. Now, you may believe it's a cult following built around a reality, or you may believe it's built around something which is totally false. But whatever the truth about that, we're going to discuss the fact that it can and does badly damage people's lives. And there's a lot of warnings which are going to come your way in the next half an hour. If I can start off with a lady who has seen Satanism at work. How long ago was that?
In the early 60s.
And how often did you actually go to, and what was the event called that you used to go to?
I was actually a member of a black coven. I didn't know when I joined it that that's what it was. I was invited to parties and was introduced that way into a coven when we met once a month, plus any special occasions.
What were the, I know you're going to cause some sharp intakes of breaths when you tell us about what you saw. Can you tell us about what you saw at those events?
At my initiation ceremony, I witnessed child sacrifice. I was also raped on an altar. And subsequently, during the time in that coven, I saw child abuse.
I don't want to upset people too much by going into the gruesome facts of that, but I do have to ask you, I challenge you on 2 points. Are you sure that what you say you saw, the first thing, child sacrifice, was not a deception which was designed to look like that but wasn't really that?
No, I'm absolutely certain. It was a baby that had been born to someone in the coven. The baby had not been registered and was used for sacrifice. No way could I imagine it.
Did you feel the need then or later on to inform the police? Because, I mean, they called it sacrifice. You would call it now murder.
Murder. For 5 years, I couldn't get away from the coven. I had signed, and it was on threat of my life. And believe you me, I believed them. I have since talked to the police about all of that, and they didn't believe me.
But speaking on actual fact, you have seen sacrifice, you have been raped.
Yes.
And Do you think that was a frequent occurrence going on in that coven and in others?
Yes. If there was a need for blood sacrifice, if ever a child was born into a coven and it wasn't registered, it was used for sacrifice. And if it was necessary at another time, a baby would be taken. And not just a baby, we're talking about older children as well.
One of the problems with the cult is that sex is an integral part. It's what they use to power their spells or the curses or even their blessings. They use sex as an everyday power source to do their work. And this is the great problem, especially when the young people are brought into it.
Well, I've got a journalist who, I mean, if I'm right, you spent 5 years infiltrating covens?
We have, my newspaper is a regional newspaper. I don't want it to be confused with another paper of a similar title. But we're the Sunday Sun at Newcastle. We're part of the Thompson organisation. We're nothing to do with the Wapping title. Our editor and our editorial management team have invested a lot of time and money in looking into the covens and the various things that go on. And quite frankly, you're not looking at Satanism and you're not looking at all these so-called spells that people can put on you. What you're looking at is outrageous perverts. Now, that is basically what you're looking at. You're looking at people that use other people's bodies to satisfy their sexual lust. And that is all you're looking at.
What's new?
Okay, Barbara, I appreciate what you're saying, but what we're talking about is, you're talking about outrageous perverts that are prepared to interfere with children for the pure satisfaction of their sexual lust. That is it.
Let me just pursue him for a moment. I know you believe there are good aspects to witchcraft.
I'm not even going to say that. What I am about to say is, what you're in danger of doing here is giving the type of pervert you're talking about, who's, primarily it's only be within his fantasies. Now you're giving him a lighthouse. You're saying, it happens over there, pal, go and take some of it. You're giving it a face. You can't, I mean, if you're reading the paper, maybe a doctor or some medic's been done for some form of malpractice, I don't immediately mistrust my doctor. I mean, perversion, abuse has been going on right from
We're talking about children.
Before
I'd be more outraged than you.
Before we descend into a row, which I think we probably will get into, I want to get more evidence from people who have deliberately gone into it looking for evidence. I mean, you were going looking for evidence. You've heard this lady say that she has seen child sacrifice.
I have never.
No, not hearsay from this lady. I'm sorry.
Well, why haven't you been arrested for being part of it then?
Because the police wouldn't believe me,
Well,
and one of the reasons is that...
No, madam, I'm sorry. Whatever you think it is...
I offered myself to the police at the end of the programme, and all he was interested in was I've been raped.
You can say you don't believe it, but this lady is not reporting hearsay. She is reporting something she has seen.
I took part in.
If I may go back to my journalist, you infiltrated covens.
Yes, I must say quite categorically, I have never seen any child for human sacrifice. I have absolutely no evidence of that whatsoever.
Have you heard stories about it, which is hearsay?
Yes, there is hearsay. We are not the type of newspaper that works on hearsay. We work on pure facts. The facts that we have established, beyond any doubt at all, and published, are people that have used other human beings for rituals on altars. In a case in Bedfordshire where a man had his children taken away by social services some years ago because of rituals taking place in his front room on his altar. This same man moved to Middlesbrough